Okay, what we're going to do now is install OpenVswitch, which basically is an open source virtual switch. And what this will allow us to do is to use pfSense and use those 3 VLANs. Now, if we're just using 2 VLANs, we wouldn't need to install OpenVswitch. We'd just use the switches built into Proxmox. But this just gives us a little bit more experience working with another technology. So to do this, we will highlight PVE, which is our node. And then what we want to do is go to shell. And what shell is, as you can see, is just that command window. And you see we're logged in as root. What that means is you don't have to type in sudo. So the first thing I'm going to do is type in apt update. And as I mentioned before, you should always do this before you install a application or service. And the reason is what apt is, that is the repository of these applications and these packages. And when you install it, even if it is on your system, it's just not installed yet, and you just typed in install, there's a chance that you could be installing an older edition. So if you do apt update, what that allows to happen is you're getting the most recent version of all those applications. And then once you've done that, what we want to do is just type in apt install OpenVswitch -switch. And as you can see, it's already installed and we have the latest version. So now what we want to do is we can go ahead and go to network. So we're still under the PVE tab, but we're selecting network. And under network, what we want to do is to create an OVS bridge. So just go to create. So where we're at again, PVE network create, hit the drop down, and we want to install the OVS bridge. Now, once we've done that, this is going to pop up and it's going to give you a name. It should be VMBR1, but don't get worked up if it's not the same. And then we can just select create at this point. Now this will auto number it. And if you've, the next one's going to be VMBR2. Now you notice when we first set it up, VMBR0 was already there, and that's just a Linux bridge. So this one will be labeled VMBR1. Now remember that, because when we start assigning interfaces, we'll need to do that. We'll need to make sure that we're attached to the right bridge. So we'll go ahead, I'll select create. Now what we need to do is create 3 ports. Now, each of these ports is just like an interface or an adapter. There's same terminology, but what we want to do is create these ports. And what these ports will allow us to do is to attach those pfSense adapters to these ports. So OVS int port is what we want. We'll select it once, and we're going to name it. And to keep it easy, remember the eCore LAN, it's the .1, and the all save LAN is .2, and the attack LAN is .3. So basically what we're going to do to keep this consistent is we're going to name this port VLAN 1 or VLAN 10. And then what we want to do is make sure that the bridge that we're connecting it to is the VMBR1. And then the VLAN tag, we're going to tag it as 10. Now this will help us be consistent because 10 will be that .1, .1 adapter, and then VLAN 20 will be the .2.1 adapter, and so forth. And the VLAN tags will be consistent with the name of the VLAN. So then once we've done that, we can just go ahead and select create. And that brings us to the second one. This will be VLAN 20. VMBR1 is already selected, and the tag will be 20. Then we can select create. And you should see a pattern here. The third one will be VLAN 30. We are on VMBR1, and our VLAN tag will be 30, and we'll select create. Basically, this allows us to set up the new switch with the appropriate ports or VLANs that we've done before. So now what we need to do is go to pfSense. We'll highlight it on the left-hand side underneath PVE. And we want to make sure that these network devices are connected to the correct one. So net 0, we're not going to touch. That will remain connected to VMBR 0 because that is the WAN port, which is going out to the internet. But we will change this. The net 1, we'll go ahead, select it. The bridge that we want is VMBR 1. That's the one that we just set up. And for VLAN, we select the tag, which was 10. And then we select OK. I think what we're going to do is go ahead and turn off pfSense while we do this. All right, you see now it has to be turned off when we're making these changes. So we see that actually took place. We got VMBR1 and we got tag 10. So what we want to do on the second one, once again, choose VMBR1. Our tag on this one will be 20. We'll keep everything else the same and select OK. Now for the third one, once again, VMBR1, VLAN tag 30, and we'll select OK. So now what we want to do is restart our pfSense. So I'll just select start, and once pfSense starts. So now what we have to do, so we got the networking part set up between Proxmox and pfSense. What we need to do now is to go back to our virtual machines, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to the network device. Now I'll probably have to turn this one off as well, but just to show you what we're going to do is our Windows machines are going to be on the E-core LAN, which is the 10 VLAN, but first we want to change it to VMBR1, and the VLAN we want to set it to 10. Now if I select OK, it's not going to work because it's on, so I'm going to go ahead and just turn off all my virtual machines. And this is a good learning point if troubleshooting, if you see these errors, then you know it's because the virtual machines were running, and you really need to have them shut down when you're making these kind of changes to them. And it's sort of learning by experience. Sometimes you can do a hot swap or fix it while it's running, or make changes while the machines are running, and sometimes you can't. All right, so all the machines are stopped now. So what I can do, I'm going to go ahead and start pfSense. And just like there's a start order in the previous labs that we've done, the start order remains in effect for this lab. You always want pfSense running first, and then you want your domain controller running, and then after that it doesn't matter. But pfSense definitely needs to start first, and then for that eCore LAN, the domain controller needs to start first. Okay, you see the bottom, we're getting an error. All right, we can see why we are getting some of the errors is VMBR1 is not active. So what we want to do is to apply the configuration, which we failed to do when we originally installed VMBR1. So now make sure active is at yes. So once again, once we create those ports and the bridge, we want to hit apply configuration. Now we can start pfSense. And we can see down the bottom, the status, it's starting and it's okay. So it's up. So now what we want to do is go to Windows 11. And we can see it is on the correct switch and the VLAN tag. So we can start that if we wanted to. We'll go to the next one. And this, once again, this one will be on eCore LAN. So that's VMBR1 and VLAN tag 10. So we'll select OK. Now I want to do one more thing is make sure this firewall is turned off. We will set up firewall rules within pfSense. So the next one on our list is Kali. We know that is going to be in the attack LAN, which is VLAN tag 30. So we want to make sure that we select VMBR1 and then the VLAN tag 30. Select OK. And then Kali purple. What we want to do, that's going to be VLAN tag 20. That is the all safe VLAN. And we can select OK. And lastly, our domain controller. And for our domain controller, we want it to be VLAN 10 on VMBR1. Now, hopefully that makes sense. And now we can start our virtual machines. And once again, I'm going to open them up in all the virtual machines in Spice. Make sure you have the right machine highlighted. That one started. We can go to our second virtual machine. Go to Spice. And we see Windows is starting there. Now we'll start the domain controller. Now what I said about starting domain controller first, that is correct once we get the domain Active Directory installed on the domain controller and that server starts acting as the domain controller. Right now we haven't set that up. That's in a future video. And we see the domain controller starting. Now we'll go back to Kali. And we see Cali starting. And the last one we want to start is Cali Purple. And the reason we want to start them all is we want to make sure that our networking is correct up to this point as far as the IP addresses. So we'll go ahead and start Cali Purple. So now let's go back to our Windows 11 VM down here with Spice. We're on the very first one, and we'll log in. And once it opens up, what we want to do is pull up a command prompt. And ideally, if this is working correctly, we should get an IP address of 10.0.1.probably 11. Let's go IP config. It's actually .13, but that is fine. That's perfect. That means our networking is set up correctly, at least with this machine. So this machine is connected to pfSense, to that first adapter that is acting as a DHCP server that is leasing IP addresses in the 10.0.1. From 11 all the way to 250. So that's why this one has an IP address of .13. So what we want to do is check our other machines to make sure everybody's got the right IP address. So before we start setting up firewall rules and other things, let's make sure that our basic networking is correct. So this Windows machine should get an IP address in that same range because all our Windows machines are in that eCore network. So we type in IP config, you see a .14. So it's 10.0.1.14. So the IP configuration is correct on this VM as well. So now we'll try our domain controller. And if this one is correct, then our eCore network is correct. All right, it's .1.15, so perfect. Our IP configuration is correct on at least our first VLAN, the eCore net. So I'm going to, now what we can do is bring up Kali Linux. We'll log in. And this one should get an IP address of 10.0.3 and then within 11 to 250. And we can run IPA. And we see 10.0.3.18. So that is great. That is inside that subnet. So everything is working so far. We just have one more to check, and that's our Kali Purple VM. And that will be in the AllSafe network. Don't see Kali Purple. I'll go to Spice. There we go, Kali Purple. So I'll log in. So this should be a 10.0.2 IP address. There it is, 10.0.2.15. So perfect. All of our IP addresses are correct. So all of our networking appears to be working. Now we're not going to test anything because we still have to set firewall rules. So just to demonstrate something is what pfSense does as a firewall is something called implicit deny. So what that means is it's going to block everything unless you create a rule that allows it to not be blocked, that allows it to be passed. That is on every adapter except the very first one, the LAN adapter. Remember, that's what this one was. So we could test this just by pinging 8.8.8 on Kali Purple. It should not work because of the implicit deny, and Kali Purple is on that second adapter, the OPT1. See how it's not working? So we'll go ahead and just stop that. Now, if I bring up one of our Windows machines, this should be able to ping 8.8.8, and it is. So that just demonstrates that the firewall, even though we haven't set any rules yet, is working. So basically, pfSense allows everything on the LAN, which is the one we set up for the eCore, and that's because and everything else is implicit deny. And the reason it doesn't do implicit deny on that first adapter is it doesn't want to lock you out. If you haven't, for instance, if it was implicit deny right now, you would not be able to connect to it remotely or any other way to get into your interface and configure your firewall rules. So what you have to do if you want to lock down that eCore is create rules that lock it down, but still allow you to access it from whatever network that you want to access it from. So that's a little bit ahead of myself, but that, since we had all the machines up, I thought I would demonstrate that, and that would just give you a little bit more information about firewalls and the way they work. Now, in the next video, we'll continue on with our networking configuration. We'll also have to set up our domain controller to install Active Directory, and we'll do domain joining. So we're pretty far along. Everything's working great, but we still got a few more lessons to go. So I will see you in the next video.